The audacity of the moment hung in the air like stagnant smoke, choking the life out of the room I had loved for 40 years. My daughter-in-law, Victoria, did not just place her designer handbag on my coffee table, she dropped it with a heavy thud, a sound that claimed territory. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. Because you need to understand something about what's about to unfold, you need to hear every word of this. Victoria looked at me, her eyes devoid of warmth, and delivered the sentence that would shatter the fragile peace of my widowhood. She is going to live here, Mother. And she is going to teach you how to maintain this environment properly. I looked at my son, Marcus, standing by the window, refusing to meet my gaze, his silhouette framed by the gray light of a rainy Seattle afternoon. I laughed. It was a dry, brittle sound that scraped against my throat. Teach me. In my house. The house I paid for with double shifts at the cannery, with knuckles swollen from arthritis, and a back that aches every time it rains. Victoria's perfectly manicured hand twitched for a second. I saw the mask slip. I saw the flash of raw, unfiltered rage in her eyes, the impulse to strike me, to physically silence the woman who dared to defy her. She raised her hand slightly, a reflex of violence, but she stopped. She lowered it slowly, because she saw something in my face that terrified her. She saw that I was not just an old woman. I was a survivor. My name is Eleanor Vance. I am 62 years old, and 3 weeks after burying the only man I ever loved, I learned that the sharpest daggers are not held by enemies in the dark, but by the people you invite into your living room. Engagement break. Can you already feel the tension? Because it only gets worse from here. The intrusion had begun an hour earlier. I was in the kitchen, scrubbing the grout between the tiles with a toothbrush, a habit I developed when my husband, David, got sick. Cleaning was control. Cleaning was the only way I could keep the chaos of grief at bay. When I heard the key turn in the front lock, my heart leaped. Only 2 people had keys, me and Marcus. I had rushed to the hallway, wiping my hands on my apron, hoping for a hug, a shared memory, a moment of comfort. Instead, I found Marcus marching in with muddy boots, tracking dirt onto the hardwood floors David had refinished the summer before he passed. Behind him was Victoria, carrying 2 large suitcases and a look of disdain that curled her lip as she surveyed my home. "Hello, Marcus," I had said, my voice trembling with a mixture of hope and confusion. He walked past me as if I were a piece of furniture that had been placed inconveniently in the hallway. He dropped the bags on the Persian rug I had saved for 5 years to buy. Victoria kicked off her heels, leaving them in the middle of the walkway, and collapsed onto my sofa. "We need to talk, Mom." Marcus's voice was unrecognizable, devoid of the warmth, the hesitation, the gentle cadence of the boy who used to bring me wildflowers. It was a cold, rehearsed monotone. It was the voice of a man reciting a script he had been forced to memorize. I sat in the armchair opposite them, feeling the space between us expand into a canyon. "What is happening, Marcus? Why do you have suitcases?" Victoria leaned forward, her elbows resting on her knees. She offered me a smile that didn't reach her eyes, a predatory expression, the kind a wolf gives a lamb before the slaughter. "We are worried about you, Eleanor. You are not coping well. The house is slipping. You are slipping." I looked around the room. Not a speck of dust on the mantel. The windows were gleaming. The air smelled of lemon and beeswax. "Slipping?" I asked, my voice low. Victoria sighed, a theatrical exhale of patience she did not possess. "Look at you. You are wearing an apron at 2 in the afternoon. You smell of bleach. You are obsessed with cleaning because you cannot handle your reality. We are moving in to help you manage, to teach you how to run a household that is appropriate for the modern standard, and quite frankly, to make sure you do not ruin the property value. The property value. The words hung there, naked and ugly. I looked at Marcus again. I waited for him to defend me. I waited for him to tell his wife that his mother was the strongest woman he knew, that this house was a monument to 40 years of sacrifice. But Marcus just stared at his boots, studying the mud he had tracked in, looking like a scolded child. That was the moment the realization hit me, cold and hard as a stone in the gut. My son was gone. This shell of a man belonged to her. I stood up slowly, and the fury that rose within me was volcanic. You will teach me nothing, Victoria. Not in this house. Engagement break, and that's when everything exploded. Victoria's smile vanished. Excuse me. I took a step toward her. I bought this house when you were still learning to walk. I paid for every brick, every shingle, every nail. I paid for it with sweat, with missed meals, with holidays spent working overtime while everyone else was opening presents. You think you can walk in here and take over because I am a widow? Because you think I am weak? My voice rose, filling the room, bouncing off the walls that had witnessed my life. Victoria stood up, her face flushing a deep, angry red. Watch your tone, Eleanor. I am your son's wife. I demand respect. I laughed again, and that was when she raised her hand. That was when the air left the room. Respect is earned, I whispered, staring her down. It is not demanded. And certainly not by a thief in designer clothing. Marcus stepped between us, his hands raised. Mom, stop. Do not talk to her like that. We are just trying to help. Help. I looked at my son, truly looked at him. I saw the fear in his eyes, the desperation to please her. Get out, Julian. Marcus blinked. What? Get out of my house. Both of you. Take your bags and get out. Victoria grabbed her purse, her chest heaving. You are making a mistake, Eleanor. A huge mistake. You are going to regret this. Come on, Marcus. She stormed out, the heavy oak door slamming behind her with enough force to rattle the picture frames. Marcus lingered for a second, looking at me with a mixture of guilt and resentment, before turning and following her. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. I sat back down in my armchair and listened to the sound of their car engine fading down the street. I was alone. Truly alone. But this was only the beginning. What happened next would change everything. Stay tuned for part 2, where the real truth starts to unravel. That night, I did not sleep. I sat in the dark, watching the shadows lengthen across the floor, and I thought about the trajectory of my life. I thought about David, about how we had built this sanctuary against the world. And I thought about Marcus. The red flags had been there for years, fluttering in the periphery of my vision, but I had chosen to ignore them. A mother always wants to see the best in her child. I rewound the tape of the last few years in my mind, playing back the memories I had suppressed. It started small. 2 years ago, on my 60th birthday, David was still alive then, though his heart was already failing. We had planned a small dinner. I had roasted a leg of lamb, Marcus's favorite. I had baked a tart. We set the table with the fine china. We waited. 7 o'clock came and went. Then 8. Then 9. David held my hand across the table as the food went cold. He tried to make excuses. Maybe traffic was bad. Maybe a meeting ran late. Finally, at 10, the phone rang. Mom, I can't make it. Victoria isn't feeling well. She has a migraine. His voice had been flat, unbothered. He didn't sound sorry. He sounded like a man checking a box. It's okay, son, I had said, swallowing my tears. Give her our love. Then there was Thanksgiving. Then Christmas. Always an excuse. Always Victoria. She was tired. She was stressed. Her family needed them. We were slowly being erased from his calendar, relegated to the margins of his life. The worst memory, the one that stung the most, was from 6 months ago. David was in the hospital in the final stages. He was lucid but weak. He kept asking for Marcus. He wanted to say goodbye. I called Marcus every hour. He is dying, Marcus. You need to come now. I can't, Mom. Victoria booked this weekend getaway months ago. We are 3 hours away. We can't just leave. I held the phone away from my ear, unable to comprehend the words. He is your father, Marcus. We will try to come tomorrow. David died that night. He died holding my hand, his eyes fixed on the door, waiting for a son who never came. The pain of this moment, it changed something in me. It made me see things I didn't want to see. Marcus arrived for the funeral wearing a black suit that looked too expensive, standing next to Victoria, who checked her watch 3 times during the service. He cried when they lowered the casket, but I felt nothing when I hugged him. He felt like a stranger. Now, sitting in the darkness of my living room, I realized something that made my blood run cold. The erasure was intentional. It wasn't just thoughtlessness. It was a campaign. Victoria had been systematically severing his ties to us, isolating him, rewriting his priorities, until we were nothing more than an obligation he wanted to shed. And now that David was gone, she was coming for the final prize. The house. The realization chilled my blood. This wasn't about helping me. This was a takeover. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity that cut through the grief. I was not going to be a victim. I was not going to let that woman dismantle my life. I made a pot of coffee, black and strong, and went to the study. I unlocked the fireproof safe where David kept our important papers. I went through everything. The deed. The insurance policies. The bank statements. Everything was in my name. The house was paid off. Financially, I was secure. But I knew that wouldn't stop someone like Victoria. 3 days passed in silence. Marcus did not call. I did not reach out. The impasse was a physical weight in the house. On the 4th day, I received a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Vance. Yes. My name is Marcus Sterling. I am an attorney specializing in elder law and estate protection. I believe we have a mutual acquaintance, although you might not know it yet. My grip on the receiver tightened. Who? I was contacted earlier this week by a Mrs. Victoria Vance regarding your estate. She had some very specific questions about conservatorship and competency hearings. The room spun. I had to grab the edge of the desk to steady myself. She is inquiring about having you declared incompetent, Mrs. Vance. She claims you are suffering from dementia, that you are a danger to yourself, and that your assets need to be placed under the control of a guardian, specifically her and your son. I felt the bile rise in my throat. Incompetent. Me. I managed the logistics for a canning factory for 20 years. I balanced the books for our household down to the penny. Why are you telling me this, Mr. Sterling? Did she hire you? No, she tried to. But I have a policy, Mrs. Vance. I do not help predators. And I recognized the name. Or rather, I recognized her. What do you mean? I would like to meet with you in person. There are things you need to see. Things about your daughter-in-law that your son probably does not know. This is when I realized everything I thought I knew was a lie. I met Marcus Sterling at a diner downtown, far away from my neighborhood. He was a man in his 40s, sharp-featured, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He didn't touch his coffee. He just laid a thick manila folder on the table between us. What I am about to show you is public record, Mrs. Vance. But it takes someone knowing where to look to find it. Victoria Vance is not her first name. I opened the folder. The first page was a photocopy of a marriage license from 10 years ago. The bride was listed as Victoria Rourke. The groom was a man named Arthur Higgins, aged 72. She married Arthur Higgins in Florida, Marcus explained. He was a widower. Retired. Wealthy. 3 months after the wedding, Arthur was diagnosed with rapid-onset dementia. Victoria gained power of attorney. She liquidated his portfolio. Sold his beach house. Placed him in a state-run facility. I stared at the grainy photo of the man. He looked happy in the picture. He looked like David. What happened to him? I whispered. He died 6 months later. Pneumonia. Alone. I turned the page. Another marriage license. 5 years ago. A different state. A different last name for her. A different victim. A man named George Galloway. Same pattern. Rapid marriage. Isolation from family. A sudden decline in health. Legal control. Seizure of assets. Liquidation. She is a black widow, Mrs. Vance, but she doesn't kill them with poison. She kills them with bureaucracy. She strips them of their autonomy, their dignity, and their legacy. And now she has targeted your family. But because your son is young and doesn't have the assets she wants, she is using him as the vehicle to get to you. I felt sick. My son. My poor, foolish, weak son. He was sleeping with a monster. Does Julia know? I asked, the pain evident in my voice. I doubt it. She is very good at reinventing herself. New state. New name. New backstory. She likely told him she was an heiress or a businesswoman. She told us she was an interior designer, I said, the memory tasting like ash. Marcus nodded. Fits the profile. Allows her to enter homes. Assess value. Critique the living conditions. It is part of the psychological game. What can I do? They are coming for me, Marcus. She wants my house. We fight back, he said, his voice firm. But we have to be smart. If you confront her now, she will vanish. She will take your son and disappear. Or she will escalate the legal battle and make your life hell. We need to expose her. We need to break the spell she has on your son. How? I asked desperately. We set a trap. You are going to invite them to dinner. You are going to act as if you are reconsidering their offer to move in. You are going to make her feel safe. And then we are going to drop the hammer. The preparation for that dinner was the hardest thing I have ever done. I had to call Marcus and apologize. I had to lie to my son. Marcus, I said, forcing my voice to sound frail. I have been thinking. Maybe you were right. Maybe I am having trouble. The house is so big. I could hear the relief in his voice. And behind it, the triumphant whisper of Victoria. I knew you would see reason, Mom. We will come over on Friday. We can sign some papers. Just to get the ball rolling. Friday arrived with a storm. Rain lashed against the windows, matching the turmoil inside my chest. Marcus Sterling arrived an hour early, parking his car down the street and slipping in through the back door. He sat up in the kitchen, out of sight. With him was a woman I hadn't met before. This is Sarah Higgins, Marcus said. Arthur's daughter. She was a woman my age, her face lined with a grief that never truly healed. She took my hand. I couldn't save my dad, she said, her voice shaking. But I will be damned if I let her do it to you. We hid them in the pantry, leaving the door cracked just enough for them to hear. I went to the living room, smoothed my dress, and waited. When the doorbell rang, I composed my face into a mask of defeat. I opened the door. Victoria walked in first, looking radiant. She was wearing a red dress, vibrant and aggressive. Marcus followed, carrying a leather portfolio. "Eleanor, darling," Victoria cooed, leaning in to give me an air kiss that didn't touch my skin. "I am so glad you came to your senses. It really is for the best." "Come in," I said softly. "Dinner is ready." I had made pot roast. It was comfort food. It was the food of deception. We sat at the dining table. The tension was palpable, vibrating through the silverware. "So," Marcus said, opening the portfolio on the table and pushing aside his plate. "We brought the paperwork. It is basically a transfer of deed and a durable power of attorney. It just means that if anything happens to you, Victoria and I can handle the bills, the maintenance. It secures the asset." "Secures the asset?" I repeated. "Is that what I am, Marcus? An asset?" "Mom, don't start. We are doing this because we love you." Victoria placed her hand on his arm. "Let me handle this, sweetie. Eleanor, look at this house. It is old. It needs work. You are 62. Do you really want to spend your golden years worrying about plumbing and roof leaks? Sign the papers. We will build an in-law suite for you in the basement. You will have your own little space. It will be cozy." The basement. She wanted to put me in the basement of the house I built. I picked up the pen. My hand hovered over the paper. Victoria's eyes were glued to the tip of the pen, greedy and bright. "I have a question, Camilla," I said, putting the pen down. She blinked, annoyed. "What is it?" "Who is Arthur Higgins?" Engagement break, the look on her face, I will never forget it. The silence that slammed into the room was deafening. Victoria froze. The color drained from her face so fast it looked like a physical blow. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Marcus looked confused. "Who is Arthur Higgins?" I repeated, looking directly at her. "Your first husband? Or was he your second? It is hard to keep track of the dead men in your wake." Victoria stood up, her chair scraping violently against the floor. "I don't know what you are talking about. Julian, she is having an episode. See? This is the dementia. She is hallucinating names. We need her to sign now." I stood up too. I was not frail anymore. I was the storm. "You can come out now." The kitchen door swung open. Marcus Sterling walked out, holding the thick file. Behind him came Sarah Higgins. When Victoria saw Sarah, she made a sound I had never heard a human make. It was a strangled gasp of pure terror. "Hello, Camilla," Sarah said, her voice ice cold. "Or should I call you Vanessa? That was the name you used when you murdered my father." Marcus stood up, looking frantically between the three of us. "What is going on? Who are these people?" "This is the daughter of the man your wife scammed and left to die in a state home," I said. "And this is the lawyer who has documented every single one of her crimes." Marcus tossed the file onto the table. It slid across the wood and hit the leather portfolio Marcus had brought. "It is all there, Marcus. The marriage certificates. The death certificates. The bank transfers. She isn't an interior designer. She is a predator. And you were just the key to get to my house." Victoria grabbed Marcus's arm, digging her nails into his suit jacket. "Baby, don't listen to them. They are lying. They are trying to tear us apart. Your mother is jealous. She has always hated me. Marcus looked at the file. He opened it with trembling fingers. He saw the photos. He saw the timeline. He looked at Sarah, who was crying silently. He looked at me, standing tall and unmoving. Is it true? Marcus whispered, his voice breaking. Victoria's face twisted. The mask didn't just slip. It shattered. The sophisticated woman vanished, replaced by something feral and cornered. You are pathetic, she spat at Marcus. You are a weak, spineless mama's boy. Of course it is true. Do you think I would marry you for your personality? You have no money. You have no ambition. But your mother, she has a nest egg. She has equity. And there it was. The truth, raw and devastating. Marcus recoiled as if she had slapped him. Victoria turned to me, eyes blazing. You think you won, old woman? You think this is over? I will sue you for everything. I will claim emotional distress. I will. You will do nothing, Marcus Sterling interrupted calmly. The police are on their way. We filed the report this morning. Fraud. Elder abuse. Identity theft. The list is long. You aren't leaving this house in a luxury car. You are leaving in handcuffs. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Victoria ran to the front door, but Sarah blocked her path. You aren't going anywhere, Sarah said. When the police led her away, Victoria didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just stared at me with cold, dead eyes. But I didn't look away. I watched her until they put her in the car. Marcus collapsed onto the sofa, my sofa. He buried his face in his hands and wept. It wasn't a quiet cry. It was the sobbing of a man whose entire reality had just dissolved. I sat next to him. I didn't hug him immediately. I let him cry. I let him feel the weight of his betrayal, the weight of his blindness. I'm sorry, Mom. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know you didn't know the details, Marcus, I said softly. But you knew you were hurting me. You knew you were abandoning me. You chose her over me again and again. He looked up, his face ravaged. I was weak. I wanted to be loved. She made me feel like I was someone else. Someone better. She made you feel like someone you are not, I corrected. The house was quiet again. But the air was different. It was cleaner. Marcus Sterling and Sarah left after giving their statements. Marcus stayed. He didn't have anywhere else to go. Victoria had cleared out their joint account before coming over. That evening, he was broke. Broken and homeless. I made him tea. We sat in the kitchen, the same kitchen where I had scrubbed the grout, the same kitchen where I had fed him as a boy. Can you ever forgive me? He asked, looking into his mug. Forgiveness is a journey, Marcus. It is not a switch I can flip. You broke my heart. You let a wolf into our fold because you were too desperate to see the teeth. I understand that now. But, I continued, reaching out to cover his hand with mine, you are my son, and this is your home. He looked at me, his eyes filled with tears, years of pain finally surfacing. We will rebuild, I said. But things will be different. You will not disrespect me again. You will not treat me as a burden. You will treat me as your mother. As the woman who raised you. As the woman who loved you when you couldn't love yourself. I promise, he whispered. The months that followed were not easy. There was no magical montage where everything was suddenly perfect. There were awkward silences. There were moments of anger where I would remember a missed birthday or a cruel comment, and I would have to walk away to cool down. But we were trying. We were both trying. Marcus got a job. He started paying me rent, not because I asked, but because he needed to regain his dignity. He went to therapy. He had to deprogram himself from years of manipulation. We worked on the house together. We painted the guest room. We planted a new garden in the spring. Slowly, something began to heal. Not just the house, but us. One afternoon, 6 months later, we were sitting on the porch. The sun was setting, casting a warm, golden glow over the neighborhood. I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years, a peace that came from standing firm, from refusing to be diminished. "I learned something, Mom," Marcus said. "What is that?" I asked, my heart already knowing the answer. "I thought being a man meant having a beautiful wife and not listening to your parents. I thought it meant detaching. But I realized that real strength is protecting the people who built you. It is honoring the sacrifices they made. It is standing beside them, not above them." I smiled. It was a genuine smile, one that reached my eyes. "We both learned something, Marcus. I learned that I am not just a widow. I am not just a mother. I am the guardian of this family. And I learned that silence is not peace. Sometimes you have to roar to be heard." He reached over and squeezed my hand. We sat there in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. The foundation of a home is not bricks or mortar. It is respect. It is memory. It is the refusal to let anyone, no matter how charming, tell you that you are less than what you are. Victoria was sentenced to 15 years. It turned out there were 5 other victims. My testimony, along with Sarah's, sealed her fate. I still live in my house. My floors are clean. My windows gleam. But I don't clean to control the grief anymore. I clean because I am proud. This is my kingdom, and I am the queen who defended it. The greatest pain may come from the living. That dark night when I sat alone in my house, I thought that thought, and it sustained me. But I know now that the greatest healing comes from the truth. And the truth is this: dignity is the one thing you can never allow anyone to pack into a suitcase and take away. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had been smaller. If I had been less stubborn, less willing to fight. Would Victoria have succeeded? Would she have taken everything from me? I think about the families I might have saved by speaking up. I think about Arthur's daughter, Sarah, and the years of pain she carried before finding justice. Marcus is doing better now. He has his own place, but he visits every Sunday. We have dinner together, nothing fancy, just simple food and honest conversation. He is rebuilding his life, and I am proud of him. Not because he has money or status, but because he is trying. Because he chose to see the truth and act on it, even when it was painful. I am not special. I did not do anything extraordinary. I simply refused to disappear. I refused to be erased. I refused to let someone convince me that I was becoming less than I was. If you are reading this, if you are listening to this story, I want you to know something. Whether you are facing someone like Victoria, whether you are struggling to stand up for yourself, whether you are watching someone you love being manipulated and controlled, you have more power than you think. The stories we don't tell are the stories that destroy us. The secrets we keep are the chains that bind us. But the moment you speak the truth, the moment you stand firm in who you are and what you deserve, everything changes. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. That is what I want you to understand. You are not alone in your pain, in your doubt, in your fear. There are others who have stood where you stand. There are others who have fought what you are fighting. And there are others who will come after you, who will draw strength from your courage to find their own. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. Because that is what this is about, ultimately. It is not about revenge or justice, though those things came. It is about reclaiming yourself. It is about remembering that you are valuable. That your home, your heart, your dignity, these things are worth fighting for. I sit on my porch on quiet afternoons, and I think about how close I came to losing everything. Not to Victoria, but to my own fear. To my own desire to keep the peace, to keep my family intact, to be the kind of mother who sacrifices everything without complaint. But that is not what my son needed. He needed a mother who was strong enough to show him what strength looks like. He needed to see that there are things worth standing for. He needed to learn that real love is not about giving everything away until there is nothing left. Real love is about respect. About boundaries. About honoring yourself so that you can truly honor others. The last time I saw Victoria, it was only once after that night, was when she was being taken away. Our eyes met for just a moment. I expected to see rage, or fear, or some kind of defiance. But what I saw was emptiness. She had built her entire existence on the consumption of others, and now that it was all falling apart, there was nothing left. No core. No self. Just a void where a person should be. I felt no satisfaction in that moment. Only sadness. And a quiet determination that I would never become that. That I would never let my pain turn me into a predator. That I would use what I had learned to help others, to speak up, to be the voice for those who were too afraid to speak for themselves. This house, this home that Victoria tried so hard to take, it is not just bricks and mortar. It is a testament to a life well lived. It is the place where my son learned to walk, where my husband and I built dreams, where we weathered storms together. And now it is the place where I stand, alone but not lonely. Strong because I refuse to be broken. If you are facing your own Victoria, I want you to know this: you are stronger than you think. Your home is worth defending. Your dignity is not negotiable. And the people who truly love you will stand beside you when you decide to fight. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me share this journey with you. Because every story matters. Every voice counts. And every person who stands up and says, "No more," makes it easier for the next person to do the same. Eleanor Vance's story is a reminder that the greatest strength is not in what we endure silently, but in what we speak boldly.